Being live on the internet can be fun, but it is not always so. Sometimes some really unbelievable things happen, like what happened to his man who was speaking against the Ethiopian government.
38-year-old Warka Anaga of Amhara State.
Looking closely, you can see someone running at the back. The thief quickly approaches with a gun to the surprised man's head, forcing him out of the car. Then, having stolen his wallet, the carjacker jumps into the car and begins driving away.
They interrupted from both sides.
Get out of the car. Get out of the car. Get out of the car. Get out of the car.
He's clearly uneasy, looking around, driving quickly, and not noticing the phone that is recording his every movement. Eventually he does, but it's long after his face has been revealed from under his mask and likely reported or screenshotted dozens of times.
Perhaps people in Ethiopia are startled. The carjacker seems to figure out he's on camera and whacks the phone, though no such word from DC police and Anaga.
They eventually found the car stripped and abandoned with no thief inside. He made off with the tags, the keys, and more.
Wonders if the Ethiopian government is involved.
Wherever I go, wherever I am, they know.
He said police found the car, and with no keys, no tags, he had it towed back here to the neighborhood till he can figure out.
This video footage is the very definition of rampage. A woman ran up and pulled an elderly woman out of her car just as she was finishing grocery shopping. The suspect then got into the vehicle and for some reason rammed it into a wall before hitting a series of approximately 8 vehicles at a speed of 20 to 50 miles per hour within the parking lot. Several witnesses from nearby businesses ran over and tried to pull the driver out of the vehicle, but many attempts failed. After a while, they successfully forced her out and restrained her using bandanas and shoelaces. Deputies later detained the carjacking suspect.
What the hell? 3 guys are holding her down. 2 guys keep her.
What is the matter with you?
Please,
Do you understand?
Do you know how many people you almost just killed?
A dash cam inadvertently captured something terrifying on a highway. As the vehicle approached an intersection, you could clearly see people getting out of the vehicle in front, brandishing their guns. They surrounded a vehicle, and though there's no audio, it doesn't take a genius to understand that they wanted to take the car. The dashcam car respectfully switched lanes, and at that moment, a lady, possibly the owner of the jacked car, ran across the road with both hands on her head, showing her despair. There are many reasons someone should wear a body cam. Police officers are one of the leading groups. It's great for collecting evidence and accountability, and sometimes it even catches a crime without meaning to.
Video you're looking at, and it shows an officer trying to stop a suspect.
This time, it shows an officer doing his best to apprehend and stop a suspect reportedly armed with a taser as he takes off in a black car.
Taser taking off in a black Audi. The man drove off going the wrong way on West 55th Street near Broadway.
The man drives in the wrong direction, through a few cars, eventually crashing into a pole. The route on foot shows the officer doing his best to apprehend the suspect, though the man does manage to get away, and by the end of the video, he takes off.
Drove off going the wrong way on West 55th Street near Broadway, plowing into at least 2 cars. The stolen vehicle eventually crashed into a pole.
This DC Council candidate, Nate Fleming, was at the gas pump like any other day. Suddenly, an SUV comes pulling up, and a man jumps out and puts a gun in his face. He quickly backs away, which is all the better, and throws his keys at the attackers.
SUV pulls up past a pump, and immediately a man jumps out, points a gun in the face of DC Council candidate.
At this point, it's his keys or his life, and the keys are far less important. It seems 4 people were involved as they collected the keys to steal the car. One person jumped into the councilman's car, while the others backed out ungracefully to make their grand escape.
In the face of DC Council candidate Nate Fleming. Fleming backs away, throws his car keys at the thieves, and they get away with his car. DC police are looking for the 4 people.
This next incident took place on May 15, 2023, in the Mayfield area. Security camera footage shows a man sitting in the driver's seat of a black sedan.
The incident happened on May 15th in the Mayfield area. The video captured by a security camera appears to show a man sitting in the driver's seat. He then suddenly reverses the car while a man wearing a hoodie is about.
Another man wearing a hoodie approaches and is about to get inside the vehicle. However, the driver suddenly reverses the car, causing it to crash into a parked vehicle and collide with another man, and then he speeds away from the scene. Authorities have identified the driver as 39-year-old Calvin Peacock.
Get inside. The car then hits a parked vehicle, hits another man, and then takes off. Now, police have identified the suspect as 39-year-old Calvin Peacock. Investigators say Peacock is known to...
Investigators reveal that Peacock has a history of arranging test drives for high-end vehicles advertised for sale online, only to steal them during these test drives. Police are currently seeking another suspect believed to be involved in this carjacking. The investigation continues as authorities work to apprehend both suspects and bring them to justice.
Peacock is known to arrange test drives for high-end vehicles listed for sale online before stealing them. Another suspect is also wanted in connection with this carjacking.
Gas stations are where most carjackings happen. In this video, 3 men targeted the driver of a vehicle in the Garden Grove. A man in a white puffy jacket distracted the victim, and another man got on the passenger side of the car.
A man in a white puffy jacket first distracted the victim, while another man got on the passenger side of the car. Well, the first man then started fighting with the victim and 2 others.
The first man started fighting with the victim and 2 others joined in and knocked the driver to the ground. The suspects then drove away in the man's car.
Later found in Westminster.
This clip captures the harrowing moments as a carjacker smashes into the back of a parked SUV. As it turns out, the suspects stole the white car in the footage and drove it directly into the parked car, with one of the victims still in the car with them.
Came to a crashing halt yesterday afternoon in Buena Park with a woman who was still in the car fighting off the offenders. The incident happening right...
An eyewitness, whose SUV was damaged, explained that the victim was fighting them the entire way. Though the thieves ran, one of them, a 15-year-old, was caught soon after and would go on to face charges for their crimes, including that of the carjacking.
She was fighting them the entire way, and I've never seen a situation like this with this girl. She was fighting these 2 criminals, waving guns at her.
In this video, this man was in for the shock of his life, as a few carjackers exploited his lack of attention for their own benefit. Early in the morning, this victim in Philadelphia was probably still groggy from sleep when his attackers descended on him.
Now at 4 o'clock, new video shows a Philadelphia carjacking that happened so fast the suspects got away with the victim's vehicle.
2 masked men approached the man's car, waving weapons around. The man backs up as the carjackers commandeer his car, driving off quickly and out of sight. The entire incident was captured on a neighbor's surveillance camera.
In a matter of mere seconds, 2 men held the driver at gunpoint in Bustleton this morning, demanding his car and then driving away in it. It is Monday afternoon.
A carjacking is a lot of people's worst nightmare, especially one involving a weapon. CCTV footage captures the moment a man heads out to his car on a regular day. A masked man comes onto the property with a gun out.
Bulletproof vest and hockey jersey demanding Sean's car keys.
He was standing right here next to this house. He was standing like right about right here.
Knowing there's nothing he can do, the young man walks back with his arms up, returning to the house to tell his dad that the man has a gun. Surprisingly unaffected by the gun threat, however, the father runs out after the thief in a bold attempt to recover his car, but the suspect still got away.
Caught a car driving toward the Gazzolas household Friday morning, then appearing in the Gazzolas' doorbell footage just minutes before the robbery. Neighbors suspect...
While at a gas station, 3 men decide to steal cars. Apparently, they are on a carjacking spree. They approach a car from off-camera, load up into it, and rob the man of the money left in the car, as well as the vehicle itself.
Take a look at the upper part of your screen. That's the red Lincoln that started it all. What you see is the 16,000 block of East Warren in front of a party store.
Later, the same crew is caught in a new car, dumping the old one to escape. They didn't seem to be in much of a rush, and nothing kept them from continuing their spree, especially given how easy it seemed. They probably didn't realize how clearly they had been caught on camera.
They had to dump quickly because they saw a DPD squad car and they took off. Police have recovered both of the Cadillacs, but this crew is still out there riding around.
This woman was just loading the back of her car and hadn't thought to close her door, which is understandable. However, a man who was walking on the road had other ideas. As she was packing up her car, the man in a white tank top acted quickly.
In this video would rather forget.
Just reliving it all of a sudden I got really emotional.
Marie Fallon had just finished doing a good deed, raising money for the Austin nonprofit.
He jumped into the driver's seat of the still-running car. The lady, however, did not freeze as much as many people would. She made a quick move, as you can see her going to pull and open the door back up. That didn't stop the thief, though. He still drove off.
Fallon was pulling out of the parking lot when she stopped to pick up a fundraising sign. She put the car in park, popped the trunk, and loaded the sign. And in those quick 7 seconds...
2 carjackers were not only able to break into a gated house, but also into 2 separate luxury cars. They then used the cars to ram into the gate, forcing it open and escaping out the front.
All of the damages here, both of his vehicles were gone. Home surveillance video capturing crooks in action as they break.
It starts with one car pulling up in front of the gates, letting the carjackers out as they work their way into the cars. The keys were actually left inside the vehicles, making the theft relatively easy. However, the cars were soon recovered.
They're gone.
When I come outside, it's not the gate. They stole my cars. They ran my cars into my gates to get the cars out.
The thieves were able to start the cars easily because the keys...
Despite the thieves trying their best to prevent this by ripping out the factory GPS, the owner was able to remotely disable the whole car. This was something the thieves didn't expect.
Fortunately, it didn't take long for him to retrieve his property. One car found near Oakland Park Boulevard and I-95. The other located near I-95 and State Road 112.
Yet another carjacking was caught on camera at a gas station. This happened last Friday on Park Place Boulevard, next to the Gulf Freeway.
Next, a carjacking caught on camera. Take a look at this.
You can see 3 suspects approaching a man who'd probably just finished filling his car. They take his keys and other belongings, and one suspect points a gun at him. The thieves got in the victim's car and still opened fire as they drove off. HPD found the stolen car at an apartment complex 2 miles away.
Last Friday on Park Place Boulevard, next to the Gulf Freeway, HPD found the stolen car at an apartment complex 2 miles away.
On November 11, 2020, at Center Oaks apartment in Fort Worth, just south of DFW Airport, a bold carjacking took place in broad daylight. The lady in pink was heading for her silver SUV, and just as she got into it, a man in a pale blue shirt rushed up to her. Pulling out his gun, he ordered her to get out of the car. At some point, he even pointed his gun at the camera as if he knew it was there. The lady sensibly got out. She didn't even fight back when he took her bag from her. She fled the scene in panic while the criminal got into her car and drove off. This is a brazen carjacking caught on camera on the northwest side of the city of Chicago. This happened in Wilburn, Zia, and Western on September 2nd, 2023.
Brazen carjacking on the northwest side of the city. This happened near Waban.
In the video, you can see 2 cars box another vehicle into a corner. That car has no chance of escaping, and the suspects surround the car, forcing the driver to the ground. They took his belongings along with his car and drove off.
Driver to the ground. They took his car and all his belongings. Police are still looking for the suspects involved.
This next incident happened in the Bronx on March 30th, 2022. A gold-colored Kia van and a Lexus SUV collided.
Carjacking caught on camera. It happened in the Bronx back on March 30th. You can see a Kia van and a Lexus SUV.
Suspicious-looking people climbed out of the SUV and jumped on the van. They attacked the 53-year-old driver. People who were initially in the SUV could be seen driving off in the van, leaving the driver helpless.
The victim was treated for a fractured eye socket at the hospital.
This next video is a perfect example of carjacking gone wrong. The people in this black sedan wanted to steal another car, but the owner of that other car wasn't willing to let go without a fight.
Come on! What the hell? Hey, watch out!
You can see the young ladies attempting to help their male companion, who was being beaten blue and black by the man in white. One of the ladies even tried to use a golf club, but in the end they had to give up on their attempt, get in their car, and flee. This next video shows what could probably be one of the most expensive thefts under 1 minute. The video shows a car dealership in Kentucky. 3 cars are within the range of the camera. The thing is, they aren't just cars, but sports cars. 3 Dodge Challenger Hellcats. When 3 people walked into the showroom in less than 45 seconds, they had replaced the plate numbers of the vehicles. They each got into a vehicle and, with a speed that befits a sports car, sped out of the showroom and zoomed into the distance. CCTV in Johannesburg shows a moment when a Porsche driver outsmarted carjackers who were on a mission to rid him of his precious car. The white Porsche drove calmly on the road and turned onto the pavement. At the exact moment that he turned, a silver sedan drove past him and stopped a little distance away. The thief got out with his gun, aiming at the expensive car. At this point, the Porsche driver had already noticed what was going on, so he immediately backed up into the road again, leaving the thief extremely confused on what to do. In a split-second decision, the Porsche zoomed past the silver sedan, and the thieves had no choice but to eat the dust left behind. In an unexpected twist, a woman found herself battling for her car and possibly her life as she drove her car into the driveway and got out. The incident unfolded in Stockton. A group of 3 hooligans walked up to her. One of them grabbed her purse, which she held onto with no intention of letting go. The others went to work on the car, honking it. Nobody showed up to assist the woman despite her screams. In this present day, there is hardly a safe place, as criminals don't mind following you to your doorstep to steal from you. That's exactly what happened to this woman in September 2018.
Almal wil net hierdie footage sien.
Sien as ons na daai trok as ek vir daai trok ingekom het.
Sou ons betyk. Letterlik 5 sekondes nadat ons ingetrek het, jy gaan nou tel. 1.
The video footage shows a group of armed criminals attempting to hijack a woman in her driveway. The CCTV footage shows how the woman drove her white Jeep through her gate and into her driveway, but another white SUV was behind her.
Hierso gaan jy nog vir ouma sê.
The criminals emerged from the other car, pointing their guns at the woman through the glass, but demanding that she open the door. Refused to open her doors and get out of her car. Instead, she rams into her assailant's vehicle, forcing them to flee the scene.
Nee, jy moet aangehou ry.
As ek daar net aangehou ry het.
Jy sien en daar ry daai blou bakkie verby en jy stop nie eers om te kyk.
On May 9th, 2022, a woman's visit to a supermarket turned into a nightmare for her. As she drove her white car into the parking lot and made to get out, another car drove up behind her. A group of men got out of the other car and accosted the lady, who immediately went into panic mode. They snatched her belongings, including her car keys. The helpless woman could only squat in a corner as the hoodlums got into her car and drove it off like they owned it. This security footage shows them the moment when a woman was being carjacked. She had just parked her car and stepped back from it, when these men climbed in and took off. If they thought they could go so easily, they were in for a big surprise. First, the lady leaped on the hood.
They weren't going without a fight. First, a leap on the hood.
And then this man, a City of Smyrna employee, noticed the carjacking and ran towards danger. He quickly pulled out a pistol and fired. The car was saved, and the police took over the matter.
He noticed the carjacking and ran towards danger. He quickly pulled out a pistol and fired.
The next video comes from Southwest Miami. It shows the moment when a man was carjacked at gunpoint at a gas station. The scary part was that he was with his 9-year-old daughter when it happened.
Terrified father pleads with an armed carjacker, getting his daughter out safely before the bad guy makes off with his SUV.
A hooligan walked up to him and pointed a gun at him, demanding his car keys and wallet, which the man sensibly handed to him, as he was more concerned about his daughter, who was sitting in the passenger seat of the white Bentley SUV. He went around in front of the car to get the girl, but the unreasonable carjacker pointed his gun at her too and demanded her phone before driving off in the vehicle.
She gets out, but not before this carjacker also points the gun at her and demands her cell phone.
In this next video, 2 suspects are seen attacking a family in haste. Their goal is just to get a car. In the video, 2 suspects creep up, firing at a family as they were saying their goodbyes in the driveway of their West Jackson home.
On a Ring camera, watch as 2 suspects creep up, firing at a family as they were saying their goodbyes in the driveway of their West Jackson home.
Heather Allen and her son were outside the car, but inside were her oldest son, daughter, and 2 grandchildren. Allen was only concerned about her family and was trying to keep them safe. The whole time, one of the suspects was still yelling for the keys. When they couldn't figure out how to take that car, Allen threw her keys on the ground.
The whole time, one of the suspects was still yelling for the keys. When they couldn't figure out how to take that car, Allen threw her keys on the ground.
And as you can see here, without wasting time, they soon after took off in Allen's car that was parked in the lawn. A shocking encounter was caught on camera in Northwest Austin. Danielle Cotty was driving home when a suspicious car came up behind her. The car drove to the front and came to a complete stop, forcing Cotty to also stop. A nearby home camera captured the moment as a man got out of the suspicious vehicle and approached her car. She started to go around them on the left, and at that point, the man threw something at her car, and she tried to stop, but the car attempted to stop her again. In a split moment, she sped past the car as they both collided. But the collision, or a scratch on her car, was the least of her worries at that point. This new video shows 2 Good Samaritans stopping an attempted carjacking in Oakland. The incident happened in October 2023 on Piedmont Avenue. In the video, you can see a man returning to his car when he's approached by 2 men in sweatshirts who take his keys right out of his hand.
When he's approached by 2 men in sweatshirts who take his keys right out of his hand.
As they go back to the man's car, something unexpected happens. 2 people intervene, fitting the criminal's car with bats, and the carjackers had to drive off without taking the victim's car.
2 people intervene. The carjackers then drove off.
This video from Brown Plains shows a moment when a driver, through quick thinking, avoided possible carjacking and insurance fraud. The time was 3 a.m., and this man was driving on the freeway, probably enjoying the peace of the night, when, all of a sudden, a lady deliberately walked into the road and threw herself in front of the car, falling to the ground hereafter. The driver didn't bother to stop, but turned and drove off. Some people absolutely don't care what people feel when they lose their properties. But there are some people who cannot bear to watch their things taken from them. In this video, the woman had just parked her car when 3 ladies got into it and attempted to make away. The woman, however, literally clung to the car, refusing to let go. An eyewitness explained how the girls tried to shake her off, but not succeeding, they abandoned the car and fled.
You can see the owner of the car is not letting go.
Newly released video shows a man being carjacked at gunpoint in a gas station, an incident that happened in Bladensburg. You can see the carjacker running out of a dark blue car just as a man in a white Kia sedan finished pumping his gas. It was at this point that the suspect pulled out a gun and demanded the car.
You can see the person running out of a dark car just as a man in a white Kia finishes pumping.
The driver put up a fight, at which point the suspect fired several shots. Luckily, police say the driver was not hurt, but the suspect did get away with the car. This video shows a very rare moment when a woman escaped carjacking and possibly fatal injury by a hair's breadth. The incident took place in Oakland and was captured by the woman's dash cam. While she drove, a white sedan suddenly overtook her and stopped just a few meters away, forcing her to stop. 2 people in black hoodies jumped out of the sedan, pointing their guns at her. Gunshots could be heard, but the brave woman set her car in motion and sped away. This next incident happened on Beasley Road. The victim, Elamir Holbert, explained that he was on his way home from work when a car bumped him. He says when he got out to inspect the damage, the man pulled a gun on him, and just like that, they took his car. He says his friend picked him up and they tried to catch up to his car but were unable to. He says he's glad the business across the street had video of the incident. Surveillance video taken at 11:20 on a Wednesday morning in June 2023 in Lincoln Park shows a blue SUV pulling up next to a lady called Diane, who was just walking her dog. One of the suspects pulled out a gun before running off with her purse at the intersection. The suspect rifled through her purse and tossed it, only to realize that her car keys were taken.
Video shows a blue SUV pull up next to Diana DiGiacomo, who was just walking her dog at the time.
The blue SUV later pulled up on a dark gray Jeep, which was her car, and sped away.
Only to realize that her car keys were taken. That same blue SUV later pulled up to her Jeep Grand Cherokee.